Series Season 4 is, gee, I wish it was more Adama-Kara.
For those of you who don't know, we mentioned a couple times, the show's been sort of perennially nominated for Emmys every year for visual effects. I think we got sound effects before this year.
Yeah. Yes.
And so sound effects, and we got more, best costume a couple times. And this is the first time we kind of broke through the next tier, which was a nomination for Peter Sankala for the Exodus episode, and also for this man for the premiere. It's sort of, it's freaky in a way, because you're looking at the nominations and it's, Sopranos, Lost, on.
But one of these things is not like that.
but there it is. It's a really, I think it's a really great thing, and it's. I hope that in our last season we get to the next tier, which would be for some of the people, the other people on the stage. Yes.
Yeah.
And if you think acting-wise, just in pure acting terms, we're doing some of the best work in media, and the ensemble is. You any voters out there, tell a friend.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that you'll be able to end the show in a way that the fans will find emotionally satisfying and have some closure with? A lot of shows in recent years, like Alias, have ended in ways that pissed off a lot of the fans. Do you think you can do better this time around?
No.
Yes, they will.
All right, folks, we're going to have two more questions.
Okay, I'm going to give this quick because I know everybody's got the question. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Uh-oh.
My gods, I can't frankly believe I'm talking to you. But, beautiful, welcome to San Diego. I'm a stickler for how things are all covered in the series. It's better than a movie. Every hour is better than a movie. Who wrote in the miniseries the note that there are 12 Cylon models to adopt at the end?
The intention of that, when we wrote it, was that Baltar, and the scene that immediately follows or precedes, I can't remember how it's structured, had Baltar and Head 6 walk into the corridor, and the idea was that they were having a conversation where she said, he said, I'm not on anybody's side, and then you were supposed to see that actually he was trying to help and he was giving Dom information. But the way it turned out, it felt more ambiguous than caught on air, and it's been sort of a dangling plot thread on some level, but in my mind, it was something Baltar was trying to tell them to try to help in the only way he could. And I don't know that we're ever going to actually pick that thread up again. You never know. It's one of those things that sits on the writer's board. Oh yeah, we never quite dealt with the note. But that was the intention.
All right, this is our final question.
Thank you again for coming down here, and thank you for the best written and the best acted show on TV. Two quick questions. I know in the past you said you tried to balance the politics between the right and the left. I was wondering if you thought any side was leaning more heavily than another as you go down to the final stretch of the series. The political side was more right or more left, and I was wondering the significance of Razor as the title.
I don't know that I ever really think about, the politics of the show in those exact terms of how right or how left we go. I mean, I think myself and the other writers are just drawn toward surprise, drawn toward doing unexpected things, drawn towards taking political situations in the show and flipping them a little bit, changing, the parameters that you're familiar with. We're going to do a story about a planet and an occupation. Well, wouldn't it be interesting if we were the people doing this, and what kind of moral dilemmas would that push you into? And, in some aspects you can define some of those things right and left. The labor show was obviously further to the left than it was. I was going to do a show about union busters, I just wasn't. But so that was clearly a political idea. I don't know that we're having those conversations going into season 4 about what's the political balance of the show. The title Razor is actually, it comes from a line of dialogue within the show that refers to it's kind of, it's hard to explain because it's a complicated backstory. The Razor has a specific sort of backstory within the episode itself that explains where the term comes from. I can tell you that the idea of it actually comes from a line in the movie Patton. And there's a line in the movie Patton where George C. Scott shows up early to take command of the Second Corps in North Africa, and he walks around the base that he's taking over, and the soldiers are all lying around. They have their shirts untucked, they're sleeping, and Patton at some point says he's going to turn these guys into fanatics. He's going to turn them into racers. And that was a great line that was stuck with me as we were
We use it in Pegasus.
We use it in Pegasus too. That they were about razors, they were about sharp, they were weapons, and they were deadly weapons. And that was sort of the idea that Admiral King promulgated when she was commanding the show.
Speaking of Razor, I think we're going to take a look. Our first look